Okay, I'll call this village board meeting for December 16th, 2019 to order. Roll call, please.
Joe Zitzelberger,
Here.
Bill Willems,
Here.
Christine Runge,
Here.
Bill Random, Aaron Moran,
Here.
Chris Zellner,
Here.
Gary Hertzberg. Here.
Okay, first thing we have is confirmation of open meeting compliance. Lori?
Yes.
What?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm waking up.
Out of hibernation.
I can confirm that the draft agenda was published in the Wanakee Tribune on December 12th. The final agenda was also posted on December 12th at all 3 village posting locations, and the final agenda and meeting packets were made available online on December 12th as well.
Thank you, Lori. Next, we have consent agenda. Would anybody like anything pulled, or I'd look for a motion?
I'd
Go ahead, Joe.
oh, so go ahead.
If you could pull number 5.
Okay,
And pull number 3, please.
okay. So we have 3 and 5 pulled. Is there a
And then I
motion?
would move to approve the consent agendas, items 1, 2, 4, and 6.
Okay, motion by Joe Zitzelberger,
Second.
second by Aaron Moran. Any other comments? Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we'll take public comment. Is there anybody here who would like to address the board on an issue that's not on the agenda for this evening?
Nyla Fry, 404 East Berlin Avenue. I would just like to say at some point, I hope there's a meeting pertaining to the Water Tower Hill and North Division Street so that we can, the public can have an understanding as to why there's a need to put that road through. I think that the sooner that information is out, the sooner it can be a done issue. And also, I wanted to thank the village staff, the streets department, all the civic organizations that have made Wanakee a winter wonderland if and when it snows.
Thank you. Anyone else? Todd? Comments?
Oh, I would mention that after the meeting tonight, Rex is prepared to have us visit. I always enjoy hosting the board members and any staff who want to come for festive holiday cheer over at Rex's. The public is welcome to come too. We did notice it as a quorum, but I don't expect business to be done. And there is a threshold to the holiday cheer that I provide. So, but depending on who's there, we'll see what my wallet can accomplish.
Does anybody have a birthday that could help Todd? With that. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, so then let's go back to our consent agenda items that were pulled. Number 3, Joe?
It was just unclear to me in the stuff that was provided. There were a couple of options, I guess, and I'm not sure whether those options were included in what we're approving or if they were,
They are not.
okay.
So just the 12,500 base contract.
Okay, because in the piece from, what was it, August, that we had discussed, there was something in there about was putting something over, an armor or something over the cracks, and we're not doing that?
At this point, we are not. It's our plan to go ahead with just the standard resurfacing. If the courts change substantially by the time spring arrives, we may need to reevaluate. But at this point, it's our intention to just do for the $12,500 bit of work.
We reviewed that at Parks Committee, and we're comfortable with what we're doing there.
Cool. Then I would move to approve the contract with Holbrook Tennis Court Services for the North Ridge Park Tennis Court Rehab Project.
Okay, motion by Joe Zitzelberger,
Second.
second by Kristen Runge. Any other comments? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And then Gary, you asked for number 5?
Yeah, I just wanted to pull number 5, talk about the newly named O'Malley Marsh. You know, Dave's in the audience today. I've known Dave for 25 years. This addition to Wanakee's conservation area, it's 82 acres. The O'Malley family worked really hard and worked with the county and really spent time and probably are frustrated a little bit it took so long. But I think it's a great addition to the village. They're donating $20,500 back for the maintenance, ongoing maintenance, which I think is a wonderful thing. So just thank you, Dave, and your family. It's a real nice addition to the village.
Thank you, Gary. I'm really very happy to be here. It took a while, but good things come in time. It was a lot of credit goes to Jim Welsh with the Groundswell Conservancy. He really pulled everything together in the end, and working with Todd and folks in the village and the county and Department of Natural Resources. Really was a partnership effort to get that all together, and so McDade too. So really appreciate all of your efforts too, and it's really nice to see this happen, see it preserved forever. And it's nice to have the family name on it. We always called it the Marsh way back when, so we'll still be that. So that's nice. So thank you for.
And Marsh has a very important job when it rains. It keeps us from flooding, really.
That's right. There's a lot more water in it these days too, you notice.
And we're calling it a marsh because we want it for animals, not for people. It's not a park, it's a marsh.
Agreed. Do you want to say anything just special about the land, something that's unique to it that the public might not know, or?
Oh, I was trying to think, it was going way back, we used to drive cattle out there from the marsh into town, back where the barn used to be over just across the street, right on Highway 19, how things changed since then, but the cattle used to be grazed out there. We had a lot of good times playing out there as kids and shooting ducks and pheasants, things like that. And it's a good place to hang out, and so we're glad to see it, for public use. And I guess I'll differ a little bit with Phil, but it's a marsh, holds a lot of water, but there's high ground, so there's a good opportunity for trails through there too. So I would encourage people to use it. Gary, the parks, I mean, there's room for trails through the woods, and there's always volunteers. I would volunteer to do some of that work too. So.
And I'll say things personally, between my ages of 8 and 14, I used to go fishing in the creek there, and the muskrats would always chase me. So, 2 exciting adventures when I would go over there. So I'll say.
Weren't you afraid of muskrats? When we were kids, there's still some out there.
I just had them come up on me at times and be, whoa, wait a minute.
Wasn't one of our presidents was chased by a muskrat? Wasn't there some video I remember?
A rabbit.
A rabbit.
Jimmy Carter.
That's right. That's right.
So I'd make a motion approving the O'Malley Marsh.
Okay, motion by Gary Hertzberg, second by Aaron Morant. Any other comments? Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, then we have under license and permits, discuss and take action on operator license applications for Shannon Odresh, Julie Gengler, Shannon Foote, Josh Heimbecker, Ryan Woods, and Holly Tierney. Lori?
Staff recommends approval of operator licenses applications for Shannon Audress, Julie Gengler, Shannon Foote, Josh Heimbecker, Ryan Woods, and Holly Tierney, subject to successful completion of all approved responsible beverage server training course and review by the Wanakee Police Department.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move approval of the license applications for the aforementioned applicants, subject to the completion of the approved responsible beverage server training course and review by the Wanakee Police Department.
Okay, we have a motion by Phil Willens,
Second?
second by Joe Zilberger. Any other comments? Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next, under new business, we have discuss and take action on non-represented employee wage adjustments. Todd?
Yep, there was a summary memo in your packet that laid out what's proposed here for you to consider. So taking you back to a year ago, more than a year ago, when the board approved the 2018 budget, what you approved across the board was a 2% wage adjustment for 2019. At the time of the budget completion, the police union, WPPA, was still in process of contract negotiation. So what we did was, in addition to that 2%, we set a salary contingency budget number of $50,000 without knowledge of how that contract would end, or would end up panning out. The other thought with that contingency was that historically we have looked to try to achieve parity between our employee groups. In other words, if the negotiated contractual represented groups received 2.5%, we would tend to look at the non-reps and treat them similarly, which is a policy the village board can either continue or not. It's your prerogative. So what was negotiated as a result of the WPPA contract was a 2.5% adjustment on 1/1/19 last January, or no, I guess that would be this January, a year ago, and then an additional 0.5% given on July 1st, this past July. So that nets a total base wage adjustment of 3%. So what we have in front of you is a proposal to utilize that contingency, the salary contingency, to apply that 1% to the 2% that the non-reps received earlier this year, to bring them also to a 3% net base wage adjustment for 2019. Although there's that 1% won't be applied going back to July, like the police department, we're suggesting a December 1 retroactive application. So that's the proposal. The fund, the salary contingency fund, both would support this year's 1 month adjustment, that December adjustment, as well as the resulting impact for 2020. So that salary contingency would cover both.
Okay, board members, I'll look for you guys for comments. We did approve this last year with this understanding. We just haven't acted upon it, probably in a timely fashion, which we probably should have earlier, but I think it's the right thing to do. We did talk about it very openly, about trying to match those two, and that's the reason we deferred the money, and the money's already there, correct, Renee?
Correct.
For it, so we budgeted for it, and that's my opinion. I think that it's the right thing to do, and it's my feeling. Anybody else?
I agree, I'm ready to make your motion. I move to approve the 1% increase in unrepresented village employee base wages retroactive to December 1st, 2019.
Okay, motion by Fulham, second by Kristen Runge. Any other comments? Okay, call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Number 2 is discuss next steps for the village board strategic planning. Todd, go ahead.
So I thought the board did a really nice job with Tim Hanna back a few weeks ago, that Saturday. I thought you accomplished a lot in that 6 or whatever hours that was there. And what I hope for the village board is that we can not end there, but continue sort of the gas pedal on the process of strategic planning, which will go from sort of what we've done now, visioning, mission, creation, which we're yet to finalize. Remember, we've just done the kind of the tip of that iceberg. But work that all the way through a planning process to where you establish goals, priorities, that will then really turn into organizational direction as a result. So what I'm suggesting is that once monthly, we have this item, your strategic planning, on a board agenda for, in the least, an update, but more so action to the end of completing a process. I suggested a schedule going through July and asking you for feedback on that. If there's a particular approach that you'd like us to take differently, I kind of just want to open it up to see how you feel about where we go next and whether this is something that you're comfortable with.
Well, first, I like how you've laid it out in this process. I'd like to see us get going on it, or get it completed before July, just me. But if you think that's an adequate time frame as a board, I think that's fine too, but.
Yeah, I've got us going to draft number 1 in July, but I think what will occur in our discussion is the variety of inputs that you want to seek in your effort to complete a strategic plan. In other words, where is the public or the other committees or the staff involved in helping you with data, content, and feedback? If you care to do a citizen process, a thorough citizen satisfaction survey, for example, that's why I've got a couple months in here to allow that to happen. And frankly, a real solid, scientifically proven survey effort would take us well beyond, I think, July, if we want to include that in the process of developing the plan. So, but that's the type of thing we can evaluate as we move forward.
I mean, one thing that, even though it's a strategic plan, there might be, and that's usually long range, there might be some things in the strategic plan that would be more short-term, that it could affect our budgets for, 2021. And so I'd like to kind of keep on a pretty aggressive time schedule so we can, have things pretty well solid by August, when we're starting to talk about budgets and our departments are looking at things, so we have some direction to give them.
Much better than how I stated it, but yes, exactly the feelings that I was having, so, yes. Where in here, Todd, would you suggest that we put input from the public?
Well, I think that's when we talk about the options for proceeding. So in February, we're going to have options in front of you for proceeding with further strategic planning, establishing priorities and goals. I think that is where we'll have some proposals from groups who might be able to help us. And in that process, I can solicit some cost estimates on survey completion as well. So what I'd like to do is give you a scope of work, almost like a la carte maybe approach. So in February, you'll see those options and can make decisions on that. But if you recall, we did budget, I think it was $20,000, maybe,
That sounds about right.
to help us with this process in 2020. So you'll have some resources to do it. And so I'd like to show you those in February, those options.
So I guess my question, I understand about surveys potentially, but is there gonna be an opportunity for the public to speak to us in this process?
I think that's part of the discussion we can have in February as we work to consider the approach that you'd like to take.
Okay.
I think the door's wide open to however you'd like to see the public engaged.
I think it gives us enough time, so.
Okay. How's everybody else feel? Process look good to you? Any suggestions or things that may have been missed?
When is the last, did we have one? I'm trying to think of the last survey.
It was before my time here. We've done a couple issue-specific
Okay.
surveys, but the last time a citizen satisfaction survey was done, that was when Cameron Clapper was here still.
Oh.
Remember, when him and Kim, I'm guessing it was probably in the 09 timeframe.
So my only concern on that would be to make sure, if we're gonna use a third party, that they have enough time and we have enough input to make the survey worthwhile, get the information back in time so we can, digest it and understand it. So, February probably gives us that time, as long as the, third party doesn't come back and say it'll take us, 2 or 3 months to do this.
Yeah, we'd have to jump right at it, and that's feasible.
To your point, you've been involved with a lot of this. Does this seem like a realistic timeframe?
Yeah, the survey will take 2 to 3 months, depending on what methodology we use. Phone surveys aren't reliable anymore because nobody has landlines, so random digit dialing is expensive and not representative. Mail surveys, when we do them, we tend to skew older and more well-to-do. So we don't necessarily get it's a huge issue in the survey world right now, so we don't necessarily get a representative sample of the public. We get those who have the time to sit down and take it, which tends not to be people in their 20s, 30s, early 40s. So that'll be our challenge for this, by far.
Probably what you're seeing is more a multifaceted approach to soliciting the feedback, a combination of surveys, community forums, even focus groups,
Yeah,
if issues rise out.
it's tending to be what we're doing right now, yeah. And some of those are a lot quicker to do. A series of focus groups are more labor intensive, but you can do them in the space of a few weeks, so. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and part of this, I think that, the affordable housing study gives us a big piece of what we're looking for, so, we can just kind of fit in around that, the other areas that people are concerned about. So we have, great documentation from that already. So that should help us.
And we have some questions that we included in there that weren't necessarily related to housing. They weren't related to how the village functions as a whole, but they were related to community identity, so we can maybe I'll pull those and over the next month or so, write them up.
I have one concern kind of about the March date. Since we're looking at an election, what, like 2 weeks later? Is there any concern about picking dates for that strategic planning stuff when we potentially could have turnover?
So I think that's a tricky one. I mean, turnover is always,
It is.
is always possible. I think a good strategic planning process really is, it's gonna be it's gonna have a lifeline that won't end.
Yeah.
This process will continue, we'll update it, change it, and the policies of the boards will change and shift as well over time.
I guess I'm just looking at the perspective of if you've got new people working it into their schedules as well as the existing board members. I don't know that it's a critical thing, but
Yeah, it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing to dance around, and
Yeah.
believe me, I've thought about it because we need to be attentive to you guys, today's board, as well as the reality of who the future leaders are going to be.
Yep.
I don't know, Kristen, do you have any? Sorry.
I have a suggestion. One of my suggestions would be for anybody, better be careful, I gotta make sure I say it right, because Roberta's writing this down. Anybody who will be running for village board, I would encourage them to attend all of these meetings so they are up to speed if they are elected into the board. So they've at least heard all of these things. And if they can't be here, to at least watch them on our YouTube video.
Well, you may not know that whenever we have a candidate, somebody running for office, what we start to do immediately is providing them with the same, the packets of information, the non-confidential versions of those packets, and encourage them to come to meetings to be a part of the process. I send them the weekly department updates or the bi-monthly updates that you guys get. I include them on those mailing lists once they're declared as a candidate. So they do get invited and encouraged, as you're suggesting.
And like I said to Gary, you probably said that better than I did, but thank you for doing that and making sure the village is helping our candidates as they go through. So, okay. Anything else from anyone here on this one then?
I think we're good.
Good?
It's good,
Phil?
good feedback.
Aaron?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, better being intentional about this, but I agree.
Okay, then last, I'll say, I wish everybody happy holidays in our audience, on TV, for those who are anxiously waiting to see this come up on YouTube.
For our fans.
Happy holidays, and we need one more motion.
I move we adjourn.
Motion by Phil Willems,
Second.
second by Aaron Moran. Call the question, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thanks, everyone.
Todd, was there a certain date